And what we have here is a lyric version of the story of Achilles. And the story is very familiar to us, but the way it's retold in lyric is still not that familiar. In lyric, everything is so compressed. What takes epic, usually many, many verses to say, is said in a much more compressed way in lyric. And actually, I know we said verses. I don't even like to say verses. Let's say lines, sure. because they aren't really integral verses. They're sort of chunks of expression that can't even be numbered as verses, and that's how compressed it is. Mm-hmm. And the idea is, if I try to get myself to say, what are the really important things that are coming at me? There's so many things coming at me all at once. It's the reality that Achilles died, how sad that is, but how there's compensation for it in the form of singing done by the Muses. And the Muses seem to be singing not epic, but lament. And yet somehow the lament becomes coextensive with epic. The lament, the longer it goes on, morphs into epic, or at least extends into epic, let's say it that way. And the words are so full of meaning, like phthinein, the word for the death of Achilles, how he perished. This is the word that that comes up again in the adjective that describes the Kleos of Achilles in Iliad IX, line 413, Kleos Aphthiton, which for the moment we'll still translate as imperishable. Kleos, imperishable glory as conferred by song, just as for the moment I translate phthinein here as perish, but as we'll soon see, it has more specific meanings than perish. Perish is just a way of starting to zoom in on what the word means, but somehow this sad death of Achilles, which is somehow compensated for by lamentation, will become something that is as good as epic, and maybe even the same thing as epic, and something that can be described as Kleos. We'll see all of those things as we start looking at other such texts, such lyric texts. But that would be my first takeaway from looking at this amazingly compressed and beautiful passage, if I were to pretend to be a first reader.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's interesting too that there's focus right now even on the grave, right?
Yes,
and that's going to be important for our understanding of the hero?
Extremely important. The physical reality of where you do the lament, where you do rituals of making contact with the dead, especially dead heroes, will be all important.
There is a preview of this at the end of the Odyssey, right? In the description.
That's right.
The Muses are also said to sing, right?
That's right.
But you have that
in Odyssey 24.
Right. But you have the word Esthlos along with the root of phi, which you have in the passage in scroll 9 of the Iliad about the Kleos. That's Esthlos, if it's not right. Aphthitos, right? Aphthiton, rather.
And it's a little bit of a stretch for me to translate this as genuine, but I'm thinking of the fact that Esthlos is derived from the root es, as in the verb to be. And so it's the real thing, just as it's the being thing, and that's how eventually this word Esthlos can mean good. But I think if I just translate the man good as he was, it's just not enough. So it's the real thing.
And we also, at the very end of this passage, in this text, we have a reference to sort of charioteering, right? And that's going to be an important theme, I think.
Very much. The metaphor of comparing song to the momentum of a chariot team, that is to say, a chariot pulled by racehorses, 4 in number in the classical period. That metaphor is going to be one of the driving themes for expressing how the hero gets to have Kleos that is unwilting. Spoiler alert. So I just said unwilting instead of imperishable, which is what we'll try to tease out of this family of words. Phthinein, which I translate here as perish, Aphthiton in Iliad IX.413, which I've so far translated as imperishable.